All of the stuff looks good in theory, but they tuned it terrible. Hello folks, welcome to Netcruzer RC. Today I want to talk to you about the Traxxas MAXX. Now I did miss the initial release of this as I was away traveling on vacation when they first announced this, but since then the trucks have come out. Some of the first people who bought the demos, where the hobby shops let their demos go early, a few people have those. So I do want to show you some initial impressions that I have of this truck. Note here where they're showing the promotional material of it, kind of digging down in the suspension. Watch this, how it comes in, holds its own, and then when it tears away and enters into the corner, how it's not flipping over. That's not realistic of how it's actually handling in the real world. So this promotional material is showing it on very loose surface, as well as when it's landing. You saw that landing was on an almost vertical surface. It's not realistic at how this vehicle actually handles. There is something I'm noticing about this vehicle is that its initial suspension tuning out of the box is pretty terrible, and I'm very surprised at Traxxas for not tuning the shocks properly. This truck has very premium shocks on it. They're big, they're massive. These are the GTR shocks on a /4x4 upgraded shocks. Here's the GT-MAXX versus an XMAXX shock. These are absolutely massive bodied shocks. Tons of oil capacity in here, but the tuning, whatever they've put in for oils, pistons, and springs, seems completely wrong for this vehicle. If you drop this chassis from knee height to the ground, it chassis slaps. It should not do that. So people that are bashing, or even on small jumps, when it lands, it's landing really hard and it's causing some damage along the way. So it's chassis slapping on almost every landing. If you try and land a nice jump on all four wheels, it bounces, so it's under dampened and oversprung. Let me just show you an example here by CCXRC. That was a big jump, it just bounced and landed.
Those ones where it lands, it's so hard on the landing that it still flips over even when you hit on your wheels. It's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird, Tony, because Traxxas didn't tune the shocks properly. Well, here's the bashing. Durability testing. Ooh, that was a hard landing. But anyway, so Tony did a bunch of jumps, and I did notice that it was bouncing. Then we've got Razor RC. Razor RC did a great video of what's wrong with the Traxxas MAXX. Go check that out. He talks about the high center of gravity chassis, all the weird design decisions that went into this truck. But then he went and bought one anyway, and this was his first bash set. So watch this jump here. Comes off nicely. That was a small little jump. Did you see how much it bounced on the rear end? Watch this again. It comes around, hits the jump, bounce. The rear slaps. It came down, hit the bottom of the ground, and then slapped back up again. A truck that is this size with massive shocks on it should not do that out of the box. I'm quite disappointed at Traxxas for not tuning the shocks properly. Did you see that landing? That was a rear bounce which causes the truck to flip and crash. And then we've got JTRC, which had a bit of bad luck here, but I just wanted to show you, here's a very small jump. And did you see that? That was a slow speed jump. And watch it bounce and slap off that. Boom. The suspension tuning on this new MAXX is not good. So because of all of the chassis slaps, Razor RC broke out the fan on his ESC. So all of the fan blades broke on his ESC because of the hard impacts that cause it to hit. It did snap out a bunch of blades on his ESC fan. So that's not very good. We have Tony that damaged the rear lights. That's another thing, is that this truck, the demo models came with nice lights on them. To me, that was the other kind of shady thing that Traxxas did, was that these initial demo models that are hitting the hobby shops, they show it with these trick lights. You get a nice big light bar on the front and on the back with reverse lights. That's an $80 to $100 upgrade option. When you buy it in the shop yourself, you are not going to get those lights. Also, the price point of it, it is too high priced in my opinion, and instead of lowering the price to the under $500 price point, what they did was they kept it at $550, and then they raised the price of their eRevo 6S so that it wouldn't be a price match, which is ridiculous. They just ended up upping the price of everything. Then we have JT, which seemed to have a little bit of bad luck here. He's just coming along, he hits this small jump, and then the wheel falls off. And so what happened there is his rear hub carrier, the axle broke. kind of a weird break point. It's like the metal, the plastic, where the metal goes into the plastic, sheared. Now that could have been a manufacturing defect, I don't know, but he did not jump this thing very hard and it broke. So that's not very good. Drivetrain in this seems pretty good, but there's some other weird things, like whatever happened in this axle, the outdrive of the wheel side seems to be a little weak. But the biggest thing to me that's a miss on this truck is the shock tuning. I did take a look in the manual. There is suspension tuning in here. It shows you how the new GT-MAXX shocks are built, where you've got a piston, a bushing, you got double X rings. Like, all of the stuff looks good in theory, but they tuned it terrible. It has wrong oils, wrong spring rates, and wrong pistons. So it's got 6-hole 1.35 millimeter front pistons, 6-hole 1.25 millimeter rear pistons. This is 30 weight shock oil front and rear. I just want to put this out there that the MAXX has terrible suspension tuning out of the box, and it's going to be something that you are going to want to try and fix yourself when you first get it. Either try and put a thicker oil in, or probably companies are going to come out with some aftermarket springs for this pretty quick. This reminds me of the problems that I had with my Slash 4x4 GTR shocks. I bought Traxxas' best shocks for that truck, the GTR shocks, and the Traxxas springs were terrible. It chassis slapped constantly, and I could not tune it properly until I bought aftermarket springs. I got VG Racing springs for my GTR shocks, and once I did that, it was a complete transformation. Traxxas, they have not improved that, it seems here. This is many years later. They came up with a new truck, new suspension, new shocks, still has that same problem. It's under-dampened, oversprung, and it chassis slaps from a knee-height drop. Not impressed. Really not impressed. For an $800 Canadian truck, $550 US, it should have had better suspension handling out of the box. I'm going to leave it there. Some of the other stuff is pretty cool about it. It's got a nice center drive axle. It's got the cush drive. Some of the things are good, but this truck is not for me. After seeing some of these initial owners bash it, how it handles, how it jumps, no. It's going to require way too much money in aftermarket parts and tuning to get it to handle well. I'm going to choose something else. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you're new around here, subscribe. If you want to talk to me, leave a comment down below. And as always, thanks for watching.
Those ones where it lands, it's so hard on a landing that it still flips over even when you hit on your wheels. It's kind of weird.